Welcome back. Now, we've all been on the receiving end of spam calls. There's someone selling you a credit card, asking for a donation or trying to dupe you of your life savings. Turns out this phenomenon is a menace to 95% of the people, according to a survey by local circles. Now, despite the several tools available to filter these calls out, users continue to come face to face with pesky spammers. In fact, a whopping 96% of the phone users who have registered on the DND or Do Not Disturb list said that they get spam calls regularly. While no sector is immune, a majority of the respondents said that they get the most calls from the financial services and real estate sectors. In fact, the local circle survey showed that spam calls from the financial sector in particular has grown from 54% to just 66% in the last 6 months. Though the TRAI has implemented solutions to tackle this issue, it has not worked so far. Now, this is where Bharti Airtel might come to the rescue. The telecom company has launched an AI-powered tool that helps detect spam calls in real time and inform the user. But how do we deal with such spam calls? What is the way forward? And will AI be able to curb spam calls issue? That's our big story this evening. Well, before we get in our expert opinion, let's hear about how experience of a normal population has been against these pesky spam calls.
Early in the morning, I am very fed up from early morning, and we could not ascertain whether it is a spam call or whether it is a genuine call. This is really a hardship to the citizens all over the country. I don't know how much funds are having with the banks, but it is a nuisance to the public.
टाइमिंग एकदम मिसमैच है, वो कभी भी कॉल करते हैं और कभी भी डिस्टर्ब करते हैं. मतलब किसी का कोई सोने का टाइम हो, किसी का कोई अर्जेंट मीटिंग हो, तो वो उस तरह से कुछ भी नहीं, वो हर और एक बार नहीं आते, वो कंटिन्यूस करते हैं. उनका कंटिन्यूटी जो रहता है ना, उसके कारण बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्टर्बेंस होता है.
ये ज़रूरी बंद होना चाहिए. जिसको लोन चाहिए वो तो बैंक में जा सकते हैं, और ये बार बार इनका कॉल आके बहुत डिस्टर्बेंस हो रहा है. ऐसा बार बार इनका कॉल नहीं आना चाहिए. जिसको लोन चाहिए डायरेक्ट अपना जो अकाउंट है वो बैंक में जाके लोन ले लेगा, क्योंकि इन लोग बार बार संडे हो मंडे कभी भी बार बार डिस्टर्बेंस हो रहा है.
बिल्कुल बंद होना चाहिए. इससे काफ़ी हम लोग परेशान होते हैं. कुछ भी टाइम्स पे आ जाते हैं और परेशानी ज़्यादा होती है. इस पर इमीडिएटली इस पर एक्शन होकर इसे बंद होना चाहिए.
All right, now Airtel's AI tool, which will alert users about spam calls in real time, has now been launched, and Rishabh Bhatnagar is joining in with what that entails.
Airtel has launched India's first network-based AI-powered spam solution now. Why this is important is because Airtel is the second largest telco operating, and this will be a network-powered. A user will not be required to download any sort of an app or software. It will be automatically implemented on the Airtel network and Airtel users. What it will do is that it will alert users before and in real time whenever a suspected spam call or an SMS is coming to their device. It will be directly alerted to an Airtel user. This is possible because of an AI-powered model that Airtel has deployed that analyzes velocity of calls, frequency of device and SIM change, as well as robocalling devices alongside government agency inputs. What it also does is analyze about the 1.5 billion SMSs and 2.5 billion calls that are placed on the Airtel network every day. This comes because spam and scamsters operating through voice calls has become a menace. Even though this sort of solution is not being able to be done via OTT apps like WhatsApp, it will be brought in through changes through telecom operators like Airtel.
All right, now let's go across to Mr. Pavan Duggal. He's a cyber expert. He's joining us on the broadcast. Hi, Mr. Duggal. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Duggal, as you saw in our report earlier, this is an issue that TRAI has been trying to deal with, if I'm not mistaken, since 2007. And the government has tried various measures to deal with this, but so far nothing really has worked. Now, what, according to you, is the reason for that? Is that, lax laws, or is it their enforcement that is a problem?
But clearly, India lacks a dedicated law on spam. That's the primary reason why, as a nation, we have failed in the fight against spam. You've just been trying to not give the kind of importance to regulating scam as is required to be done. So consequently, because it's not the topmost priority, we have found various experiments failing, whether it's the do not call registry, whether it's other initiatives. Today, unfortunately, there's no law which mandates that if you are going to publish, transmit, or disseminate spam, you will be visited with legal consequences. Now, because there is no effective legal frameworks in this regard, there's no accountability, everybody wants to be a part of the spam Ganga. Why? Because everybody wants to benefit from this spamming exercise, without realizing that spam today represents a deep infringement to the personal privacy and also the data privacy of individuals at large. And now with the coming of the DPDP Act or the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, it's going to get even more severe. That's the reason why I think it's a topmost priority that we need to, if we want to conserve our national resources, if we want to protect people's personal privacy and data privacy, we must come up with a dedicated legal framework on spam. Why? Because the existing Information Technology Act 2000 and the Information Technology Rules 2021 are thoroughly inadequate to deal with the menace of this. Now, by the spam route, we're now seeing cyber criminals laughing all the way to the bank. Cyber security breaches are now getting perpetuated through the scam route. And therefore, the controlling of the spam ecosystem becomes a crucial necessity if we want to protect Indian users from unauthorized exposure to cyber crimes and cyber security breaches.
Absolutely. The DND list, of course, doesn't work at all. In fact, people seem to suggest that in the past 6 months, things have gotten worse. But Mr. Duggal, this is not a problem that is only with India. Several other countries have this problem. In fact, now we also have international numbers from which we get spam calls. Now, give us a sense of how other nations are dealing with it and how successful have they been?
Well, other nations have made it a political priority to target spam. So you have specific anti-spam laws in the EU, European Union, as also in America. So consequently, spam has not taken that kind of a big root that it's taken place in the context of the Indian ecosystem. Further now, the scamsters in the spam ecosystem have realized that post-COVID-19, the fear of missing out has become a predominant factor in the minds of the Indian users. Therefore, nobody wants to miss out anything. So you land up randomly accepting all kinds of spam calls. Existing tools are not adequate to protect you, primarily because the existing tools under the garb of so-called identification of spam are virtually spamming your own selves, are virtually going to go ahead and misuse your own personal data. So the time has come where the service providers have to be made more accountable. One option can be that the government can come up with specific new rules for all intermediaries, network service providers under Section 87 of the Information Technology Act, mandating them to take specific steps to stop spam. But the problem is, if the primary legislation, like the Information Technology Act 2000, decides about spam, then there's nothing much that needs to be done till such time we come up with a new legal framework. Fortunately now, the government of India is coming up with a new national cyber security strategy. And as part of that strategy, it will be a great idea if we can try to identify the menace of spam, how it has got a direct relevance, breaches of cyber security, and to growing of cyber crime that's begun to start engulfing us on a day-to-day basis.
All right. So you seem to suggest that, stronger laws and also perhaps some of the burden also falling on these telecom companies to be able to enforce these laws is the way forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Duggal, for joining us. Well, on that note, it's a wrap on the big story this evening. Thank you for joining us, but do stay with us on NDTV Profit for more.